I said, well, look, what have I got to lose? You're taking me on and off the transplant list at the moment because 1 minute I'm too ill for it, then I'm too well for it, then I'm too ill for it. Hepatic encephalopathy is here 1 second, then my drain is not here. And I said, I don't know where I am. So I've got to take a punt on me, haven't I? The shaking in the morning that's not normal. I think that a lot of people forget that bilirubin levels, so jaundice in your eyes, was sometimes one of the last things that kicks in.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting for that to be your wake-up call, that wake-up call might be the last ever thing that your body will tell you it needs, because it might not wake up again.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Willpower Podcast, where we dive into real stories of addiction, recovery, and the unbreakable human spirit. I'm your host, Will Gordon, a 2-time organ transplant survivor and someone who's been to the depths of alcohol hell, clawed my way back. If you're listening right now and feel that knot in your stomach about your drinking, maybe it's sneaking up on you, wrecking your health, or hurting the people you love, this episode is for you. Today, we've got Dan Sheridan on. Dan's a liver transplant warrior, over 5 years sober, devoted husband to his sober soulmate Sheridan, and dad to an amazing son with autism. His story isn't just inspiring, it's a roadmap for anyone terrified of where AUD might lead. Dan, thanks for joining us. Let's jump in and show our listeners that rock bottom can be the launchpad to a second chance. So Dan, kick us off with your origin story. How did alcohol go from just a drink to something that nearly killed you?
But my issue was about never knowing who I was growing up as a kid. So the first time I probably got drunk was find mum and dad finding me passed out walking back. And that wasn't the springboard or anything fantastic, but that's the first time I remember. But I do know that from the ages of 16, 17, 18 upwards, I was never someone that would go out and could just have 1 or 2 beers. It was always, where's the kill switch?
Yeah.
And obviously now I understand a lot more with dopamine receptors not working and why I could never just have one. I'm thinking of the 20th, before anything goes on. So my late teens until my 20s, the relationship with alcohol was a very muddy, murky one. I'm always someone that's tried to rent a personality to create an identity, if you will.
Ooh, yeah.
You're never fitting in. So I'll go and sit around with the behavior and a cognitive dissonance that will listen to it. And it all just went wrong. So yeah, from a very early age, the signs were there that something wasn't quite right. And I think that
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because I can relate to so much of what you just said, as far as renting a personality to put on the mask, being seen in the world. And that's what alcohol did for us, right? Navigate the world in the way that I wanted to. So alcohol was my best friend in that sense, because it opened me
it's that
up.
hug, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that hug that we don't think that we desperately need. And it's not hugging us, it's battering the shit out of us.
It's like a warm embrace that ends up killing you eventually. It's just, but it tricks you for a while though. It really does, right? Yeah.
Doesn't it just? Claire's my wife, right? So Claire, I am Dan, Mr. Sheridan's husband. My identity is a loving father husband and a husband to the most gorgeous wife on the planet, who was, when we first met, I never even thought she would just say hello via TikTok, yet alone, be sat in our house. So she's my wife, and she's just incredible. And I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
And I love.
We have so much in common, because my wife is my soulmate. She's my savior. She's the one that literally got me out of all of this mess. She was the one that advocated for me to get sober. She was the one that was driving me to meetings. She was the one that was
incredible.
Oh my God, the most patient, loving soul on the planet. I wouldn't be here without her love and compassion and support. So I'm with you.
I think that with that, so when Claire and I met, so I was living in Oxford at the time. So in 2020 is when I ended up with a case of the deads in ICU. And I was a year sober before I went for my liver transplant assessment, right? And I thought I had all the answers. Well, I've not drank for a year. I know what it is. I've walked in there with this damn can hoodie on, thinking I know the world. The alcohol liaison nurse there, she clocked me for who I was. She's given it the whole, so you still drink non-alcoholic beers. You've done no work on yourself. You're quite happy to tell everyone about that you don't drink no more. You still live in a house where you don't want to be. You've tried tapping out on 2 occasions. You need to go and figure out who you are, mate.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, okay. And you expect us to give you the gift of life. I'm like, I thought this is going to be the easy part. Just talking about how I don't drink. That was the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
So then somebody said to me, have you ever thought about telling your story with music and words? And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, I can do a Facebook post. I can do an Instagram little story. what are you on? They said, there's this thing called TikTok. I said, that's for 14-year-old girls. I'm not using that. And anyway, I put one video up and a couple of others. One got quite a lot of attraction, 300,000 views. Off the back of that, a few days later, someone's commented to say you're incredible. I clicked who it is. This amazing lady's like, so a lot of follow, a comment goes to, I saw her, she was upset one day. I messaged her to say, look, I'm sure you get thousands of these. I'm someone from a great place. Thank you for bringing sparkle and shine to our lives. And that comment led to a message. The message led to a phone call. The phone call led to me coming over here in June 2022. By August, I was living here. September, we were engaged. By April, we were married, and the following a month and a half later, I'd had my liver transplant.
Wow.
So Claire's never seen me in the depths of addiction.
Ooh, okay.
What she has seen me is an end life stage liver disease.
Yeah.
And she watched me fucking fight, but without showing the fight I was putting on. I'm sure, Will, you know what it's like to mask pain.
Oh yeah. Sure
Yeah,
do.
and to not show the person that's giving you the strength that you're as weak as shit that day.
Oh God, you just nailed it. Yep, you nailed it. Yeah, I didn't want to show my wife that just how much I was suffering, how scared and fearful I was of myself, and what would come, what would be, what would eventually happen to me, and it did. But she was with me the whole time, and it's almost. What do you think? Do you think it's almost better that your spouse didn't have the chance to see you in the next?
I wouldn't have been in that pub environment. It wouldn't have been there. So she sees snippets of the odd videos that might pop up, and I cringeworthily put them away to one side because that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah.
But where she met me, do you know, mate, before she even met me in person, we were talking one night and she messaged me the next day and said, if I'd have ever, just so you know, if I'd ever been with you, you would have never been on your own like you are. And she then sent me a link. She'd been researching how to be a live donor before she even met me.
Wow.
And I was like, no one has even mentioned this in my friends, well, not really family. And I had to explain to her, I went, I need a full transplant. I can't have the part liver. And that blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. And so where she saw me where I was weak is where she actually saw me find my most courageous strength.
That's
Because
beautiful.
to move from where I was, my hospital thought I was crazy. They thought I was mental. They're like, what are you doing, Dan? You'll go into somewhere where their facilities are nowhere near what ours are. You need your head read. And I said, well, look, what have I got to lose? You're taking me on and off the transplant list at the moment because 1 minute I'm too ill for it, then I'm too well for it, then I'm too ill for it. Hepatic ankylopathy is here 1 second, then my drain is not here. And I said, I don't know where I am. So I've got to take a punt on me, haven't I? And that was without doubt the scariest, most amazing, crazy, funny, loving, awesome thing I've ever done. Because to do that, to show that someone had that level of belief in me, to take on me at that stage. I mean, I'm skin and bone. I'm sarcopenic beyond words, right? I'm going to the hospital, going in the Royal Free in London. Oh yeah, I'm all right now. I'm getting married next. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be fine. I'm lying through my teeth. I'm just don't ask to look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Westbrook one day said, can you take the shirt off? And they all gasped. Like, you're not well, mate. I'm not, but I'm hoovering. I'm hoovering twice a week. I'm walking. And they're like, no, you're not really that well at all. We need to get you trapped. And that's how it manifested. That's how it grew. And, I think that with Claire, understands the alcoholic was there. She understands that part of who I was, but she's so understanding that I don't like talking present and past tense at the same time when I'm talking about that, because I understand why I was doing that, why that was happening, understand what was causing that, and I've worked very hard to make sure that that stays there. I'm not scared of that person. I'm not scared of what that was because it's dealt with. And Claire knows that, and she stands by my side with that. And what she sees now, she gets frustrated because if anything, I'm doing too much, I'm trying to push myself too far with neuropathy. I'm trying to push myself here, there, and everywhere. But she's understanding of it, and I'm so lucky.
So, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
I know I go off on one about other things, so I apologize about
that. So, as someone who's been through liver failure, what were the first warning signs you ignored? In looking back, what would you tell someone brushing off fatigue, yellow eyes, or that constant buzz?
it's I think everyone's different, aren't they? I think that the one thing that we can all say, if your Google search says how much do I have to drink before my liver hurt? If you're asking that question, you're answering the question
There
before
you
you've
go.
even asked it. Yeah.
Yep.
If you are, where does my liver hurt? Liver's got no pain receptors, so it's not your liver that's hurting. It's everything else in your body that's telling you your liver's packing up.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, it was the using every excuse, medical excuse there was. So, I would turn around and say it's the antidepressants. I was on no antidepressants. I was just pissed all the time. And I was self-medicating. The shaking in the morning that's not normal. I think that a lot of people forget that bilirubin levels, the jaundice in your eyes, was sometimes one of the last things that kicks in.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting for that to be your wake-up call, that wake-up call might be the last ever thing that your body will tell you it needs, because it might not wake up again.
Yes.
It's the behaviors that go around it. I get asked this question a lot, and I tend to answer it differently to each person that asks me it, because you kind of get a vibe from them about what they're asking. One of the big questions I get asked is, how much did you drink?
Yeah.
All right. Why are you asking me that? Because you're drinking too much and you want to know, have I have the same parameter level of what I was to be there? I mean, that's something you get asked, Will.
Oh God, yeah. I get it asked all the time. And it's almost like I almost want to kind of ignore the question and just say, why? How much are you drinking? Right. Because that's obviously the essence of of why they're asking that question to begin with. Right. I mean, it's like, and I understand why they're doing that, because I would want to know that kind of thing too. If I was in the thick of it and I wanted to either buy more time or know how much time I had left, right? It's really important to kind of frame it that way, because I think a lot of people out there are struggling that way. So I understand, but like for you, I'm really curious, like how bad did it get for you? Because for me, I would wake up every single morning, crazy shaking. I would bile puke. I would crank the shower as loud as I could. I would throw up. I would throw up out the window. I would go back into the shower. I would just weep and cry and like force like a whole Poland Spring bottle of vodka down, just cry, sit in the shower, like literally on all fours, just keep dry heaving, dry heaving, dry heaving. I would do this every single morning for almost like 2 years. It really felt like
Yeah.
2 straight years of doing that. I was wondering, like, what was that life like for you before you even got to the jaundice part of your
So
experience?
with everything, so if we go back in time a little bit, if I was to say to you, something happened in 2010, where I was living then, is that I found there were naked photos from my then missus, if you will, being sent to another man.
Mm.
And I found this after we'd come back, after my mum and dad had taken us on a family holiday.
Yeah.
And I already didn't trust people. I had issues from as a kid, not trusting, and I saw that. And I was like, do you know what? The one person I didn't think would do this to me has. So any trust I had in the world was fucking gone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I was already at a point where I wasn't a happy human, and then I just thought, you know what, bollocks to it. So with regards to the best moment of my day, Will, was when my eyes started to shut, because there was a great possibility they wouldn't open again.
Oh, you just gave
And
me goosebumps,
yeah,
man.
and the shittest part of my day was when they opened. And
Yeah.
if they opened and I didn't have enough beer in that fridge to get me through that first hour, then I'm hoping that my eyes just shut and that repeated again. So I was drinking consistently. And when people say to me, but it must have been fun, I just tell them there were funny occasions, but not at one point was it fun for me.
Yeah.
Dancing around the kitchen like a lunatic was funny, because that's what you do when you're in that madness moment with all the lads in it, or on your own, or whatever it is you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it ain't fun. It's not fun throwing up and trying to drink it, because that's the only alcohol that's left in the house, is the shit you've just thrown up in a glass,
Yeah.
Just trying to understand that I can't brush my teeth because I can't use my hands because they can't stop shaking.
Oh.
I can't open the fridge up because when I take that tin of beer out, I don't want, is it one I've left open? And I see people reenacting this, and I think, why are you doing that? It's not funny. Don't reenact shit like this, because that was real life for me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's real life for other people. Yeah, you can get your clicks and your views, but live it. Oh, understand it, because at that moment in time, there was one day that I I walked up and down the street where we used to live, right, and I went and got At the time, you could buy 2 packets of paracetamol and 2 packets of ibuprofen, or one of each. There was something you could do. You could either buy 2 and 2 or one and one. It was one of them, right? And I walked up and down every shop along the street and back again, so I could buy the same amount in every single shop. I went back to go and I put 36 tins of Stella in front of me. And my idea was, right, my eyes ain't going to open again. I passed out.
Yeah.
I passed out with all this in front of me, so angry. You
Wow.
know, that's the level of where I got to, because it weren't no sane person, you know, no one with a clear brain. That's not normal behavior. But that's the only way I can describe about the madness, how it got, you know. When people ask me how much I drink, I say it was 18 tins of, it's tins the word to use, you know.
Well, when you,
So I was drinking 18 440s and drinking 10 pints of lager in the pub each day as well. And I used that bracket so people could understand the volume. It was never spirits. It was never anything else. It was that.
Huh.
And so that's where my calories was coming from. That's where the food was coming from, was
Mhm.
the sugar content. And people go, but that's a lot, and it's a lot. But I'm going, but throughout the course of the day, when people say they're on the session, they're not doing it 24/7. The only time I'm not drinking is when I'm passed out. That's the difference when people try and understand what you're coming through. No, you're saying you're going out on a bender. I said, you're going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but you're still coming home at 1 o'clock in the morning, sleeping till 10 o'clock in the morning, having a couple of hours wherever it is, and then you're back out again. I said, that's not,
Yeah, it's like not survive. Like it got to the point for me where it was just survival. I had to have it in my system
yeah,
always. I
I
mean,
couldn't have it not.
from the second I woke up, my eyes,
Yeah,
like you said, right? Like the worst part of my day was when my eyes open. I can relate to that
shit.
so much. It made my heart like just shudder a little second and give me the goosebumps because it hit me so hard. I could relate to it so well. I mean, like all I looked forward to the most was just when my eyes could shut and maybe it
Yeah.
wouldn't open, man. Like when you said that, it just totally moved me, man. And I just,
I mean,
it
I
brought me
get
right back.
goosebumps. It's your reaction to, but it's when you hear so many people who believe that there's no option, and you listen to them and you go, that's not problematic. You've got something that can be resolved there. The problem that you and I had is we've got a body that needs this shit.
Yeah.
We've got an inner monologue. The only voice we don't want to listen to is our voice, but yet it's the only voice that we can listen to, because at some point, them silly words they're saying to us, it makes some form of sense. And you know, and you've got, it's like you can say you've got the devil and the angel on your shoulder, whatever. But when you've got this, and then you find yourself you're counselling your own thoughts. You know, you're becoming your psychopath's counsellor to ask that if it's okay. Oh, are you all right? Do you need a hug? My crazy brain is telling me that actually, you know, you need to go and get another 20, you know, another pack of lager in, and you actually get 2. Could save you walking then, won't it? And
It's so interesting how you keep referring it to a hug because I know what you mean. It's like it's a hug, but it's the worst kind of hug, right? Because it's you get the hug, you get the warm embrace of what the initial feeling of like what alcohol does to you, and we can go on and on about the neurochemistry of it all to it. So you're constantly chasing that dopamine rush, and every single day it's just like survival, survival, survival. So let's get into the transplant part. So waiting for a liver transplant, it was brutal for me, absolutely brutal, because I was on like a 4% chance of survival rate.
wow,
So how did you cope with the uncertainty, and what kept you from slipping back into old habits during that wait?
ego. And that's the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
When I got told, so I had a massive GI esophageal bleed in 2020, and I got told that night. I mean, in the morning I'd thrown blood up everywhere. I then decorated the hospital the next day, and I've been told that night, we think you've only got a 50% chance of making it through the night. And I'm like, nah, no, I'm not having that. This is a time when we weren't allowed out. It was that day when pretty much the whole world went like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all throughout the day, I've been treated by doctors and nurses in PPE and all that. And I got these 2 doctors in civvies that come up to me and go, we're putting you in here. We don't think you're going to make it through the night. And I went, no. And then the next day, I've not slept that night. And I'm like, I've been told I'm not going to make it. And all my brain's thinking was, I've tried tapping out twice. If I'm not going on my own accord, there's no way that Im above is taking me now. It's not happening. Not, no, not today. So the next day I've come through and the doctors have come towards me and I've gone, you said it was 50-50 chance of me making it through the night. Oh, what is it, 60-40, 70-30, my favour? And with that, this specialist put his hand on my shoulder and goes, I'm giving you 20% a chance of making it through the day. And that's 15% chance more than what I should do. And I looked at him, and with that, well, the hospital's walking towards me. Right, I've got doctors and nurses and orderlies with bedpans and sheets, and I decorated the ward with blood from everywhere: eyes, ears, mouth, nose, arse, you name it. It was coming out of everywhere. There's a lot more that happened leading up to that, but we won't. And
What do you mean by that? What do you mean you were bleeding all over the walls and stuff?
everywhere, bleeding out. Just my side. I had total liver failure. I had a massive esophageal varice bleed,
Oh, the
GI
varices. Yep.
bleed. They just exploded everywhere, and there was no, anywhere that the blood could get out, it was coming out. And, it was like stigmata, is the way to describe it, and it was scary as shit.
I bet.
So I'm being wheeled down to theatre, and I'm just laughing what I can remember because they're just injecting me with whatever they can to try and calm me down. And the next thing I know, I've come around and there's all these lights around, and this doctor there's a doctor there, and he said, "You're not out of the woodwork." Basically it was "You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy," kind of thing. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You'll be lucky if you make it out of this hospital." And he said, "Yeah," and I'm like, "What?" And I was very still belligerent because I'm like, "This can't be happening." And I'm having memories of flashbacks of things that had happened, and I found out what they were after. And then, because of how it was going in the hospitals, every ward was being shut down to turn into ICUs. It was just a crazy time of the world to be in hospital.
Yeah.
It was an awful time. Well, because of when you were.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary during COVID. That was my first relapse. That was my first big relapse. I had to get detoxed.
Was it?
Yeah, 2020. That was the first time I really fell off the wagon. I did 3 months, I think, of sobriety, white knuckling it, dry drunk style. And
that doesn't work, mate, does it?
Not gonna work, brother. Not gonna work, man. You got to embrace it.
And I think that when I got told that, and I was in a side room, and at this point I'd come out of ICU, I had catheters in, I had tubes up my ass, I had wires everywhere, I'd been Librium detoxed to high heaven. And I had to try and walk, and I said, "Can I be left alone in the room?" And they left me alone in the room, and I just walked up to the mirror and just said, "Dan, you're an alcoholic."
Yeah.
And whether that had power, whether that was something I wanted to say, whether it was, I don't know, my Rocky Balboa moment, we'll call that the climbing of the steps, if you will, but it was something. And then I got sent a photo of my youngest lad tipping my last few beers down the drain. I was pissed off. I was like, "So I've just said I'm an alcoholic. Now I've seen the last of my beers being tipped down the drain. How dare she send me that?" That was the boy's mum. But then, because I was of the opinion,
what was that for? Like, why?
that was to show Connor, showing Dad, I'm with you, I'm doing that. But if you look at it from where my brain was at that time, that's the woman sending that to me. Another picture that she's sending that could have been. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So my brain's all over the show.
It's just like, it sounds like fuel almost for you to be like, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna, yeah.
And that's how people don't understand it, because you'll have somebody but that's a supporting thing to send you that, to show that someone's doing that, and then you go, "Well, actually, no, I'm in hospital because I'm an addict.
Yeah.
I'm an alcoholic, and you're now showing me the one thing that probably deep down I do want, but I'm telling you I don't want, is being tipped down the drain." And it was a whole mixture of emotions and feelings.
Do you remember the moment? Sorry to cut you off, but do you remember the moment when the doctors told you need a liver transplant? There's no fixing this.
Yeah. I remember. So it was I got told in 2019, "You've got cirrhosis of the liver. If you don't stop drinking, you'll be dead within 2 years." That's what I heard. The real wording was, "Will, you've got cirrhosis. Have you got support to help you stop drinking? Because if you don't stop drinking, there may be a chance you could be in trouble in 2 years' time." That's what the doctor said.
Yes.
My brain, I need to go and drink more. He's told me I can cure this by willpower alone. I'm being an absolute knobhead here.
It's fascinating.
And that's what I did. So when I got told in 2020, I'd had my first drain done, my first paracentesis done. And they drained about 18 litres, I think it was. And I was about 26 stone when I went in there. I'm nowhere near that now. And a lot of that was obviously fluid and water and all sorts of shit that shouldn't be in my system. And a week later, I went back into the specialist. It was Dr. Slavotti at the time, the JR, the John Radcliffe in Oxford. And she started drawing a picture of the liver. And I'm like, well, I don't need to see this because I already know it's knackered. They just told me my FibroScan score was 75. It can't get any higher. And then she's like, well, we're talking about, so we're doing this because we think we're at the stage of needing you might be looking at a transplant. And I went, sorry, what? You're probably going to need a liver transplant. I'm like, I just thought I drank too much and I've knackered me liver up and it will repair, because I'm told if you don't drink, your liver will repair. And at this time, well, I still thought this liver was this tiny little organ.
Yeah.
Little did I know it was this massive thing that goes across here. And then I remember going to Bryony, who was the liver nurse, who does the paracentesis, and I said, Bryony, I've had someone do an ultrasound on me. I've had someone do this FibroScan. She went, you can't remember it, can you? So it was me that did it. And I went, was it? And she went, yeah. And I remember the voice, the voice where the chair spins around and where they press the buzzer and they spin the chair around, right?
Yeah.
That's how I remember her turning her chair around going, have you heard of Turning Point? Have you heard of like alcohol help classes? Because you need to go and fucking out, you need to go and get some sort of thing. She didn't swear, obviously. And I said, was that you, Brian? And she went, yeah. I said, so how ill am I? And she went, you're our most critical patient, Dan. I went, no. She went, you're our most critical patient. And she said, you just don't grasp it, do you?
Do you remember like what now I'm not too keen on what the UK does as far as indicators go or metrics as far as like a MELD score. Is that something that they?
So we have the UK LED Euclid score, United Kingdom liver and I to this day would be lying to you if I told you what my score was, because during that time there was so much information that I was forgetting. Hepatic encephalopathy kicking in.
Yep.
My brother died one day when I was having paracentesis done in 2021.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And I was all these other things. So all I just said to them was, what do I need to do? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And so I was not in, it's going to sound terrible. What was going on the bed next to me, as much as I cared that person stayed alive, I weren't interested in what was wrong with them, because that weren't going to make me better. I needed to understand, what have I got wrong in my system? What are we going to do moving forward? What are my chances of making it to the end of the year? You've got no chance of making it to the end of the year, Dan. So plan your funeral, because you probably won't see Christmas. Right. Okay. So why are we talking about liver transplant? And wow, that's due process. That's, what we have to do and all that. And but as you know, with the liver, it's a weird and wonderful thing. So then I'm still draining. I have the TIPS procedure done. And you know what that is?
Oh
The
yeah,
TIPS.
I
Mine didn't do a thing, made it worse, if anything. And then we got to a point in where the transplants were coming back on the not on the market. So that's the wrong for they were coming available again. Yeah. Sorry, because of COVID and all that. And I went for my assessment in 2021, and I think that at that point, I didn't think I was even going to make it past the assessment. I was that weak. I was that feeble.
I give you a major, pat on the back for you. So you were sober for an entire year before you had the transplant. Is that what you said?
No, I was sober for 3 years before I had the transplant.
So you were 3 years sober before. So you were dealing with all of this for 3 years, dead sober. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That must have been exhausting and just terrifying and all of it.
I think I mentioned the word ego because I think it's very important that anyone that suffers with addiction needs to understand that ego is something that's going to stop you from succeeding all the time. But at this point, ego was the one thing that I was using to survive. I was going out of my way to tell everyone, oh, look at me, I'm on the radio. They just wanted to interview. I'm 500 days sober today.
Yeah.
They're telling me how great I am, right? I'm going to turn they want to listen to my story, and what is my story at this point? I'm some dude, right, who's got liver failure because he drank too much.
Yeah.
Why is he drinking? What was the precipice of this happening, like you alluded to earlier on? I'm in this room one day with Jess, the recovery worker, the recovery manager, and she hands me this bit of paper. I said, what's that? And she went, I don't know how you're going to react to this. Well, all right. I read it. Cocky in recovery. I read it. I looked at her. I read it again. I said, is that me? And she went, well, read it again. I said, it says cocky in recovery. And she said, now read the bit underneath it. And it talked about lapse and relapse in the possibility of this, that, and the other. And as soon as she gave me that, it clicked. I'm like, right. You're just you're dry, you're white knuckling this, you're doing this, that, and the other. You're telling everyone how you are this Ayatollah of sober rock and roller, but what are you actually doing about it, mate? What have you changed? I'm still going down the pub with the same people, but I'm sat there drinking Coke Zero rather than a pint of Stella.
Yeah.
There's a phrase over here: if you sit in a barber's chair long enough, you'll eventually get your hair cut. Right? Yeah. And I looked around. I'm like, okay. So then with Turning Point, which was the drug and alcohol team over here, and I've started to try to be a peer mentor with them. And with that, I started doing trauma healing. I started going to alcohol groups. I started to do about knowing me courses, introduction to change, sort of like when we were getting married and all this. But alcohol at this point, the only time I talk about it is on TikTok when people ask me, which because they want to know, because there is a gruesome side to what I went through.
Yeah.
But why wasn't alcohol important to me? Because I realized what Nuala told me: if you're drinking non-alcoholic beer, why are you drinking something that reminds you of the taste of the thing that left you dead in 2020? You expect us to change your life, and yet you've changed no behaviors about yourself. You're telling me you don't like the version of who you were before, but yet that before person is still here today. Figure it out, mate.
Yeah.
So I had to go and have breathalyzer tests once a week, blood tests, obviously, because I was dying. You're under the psych team, if you will. It wasn't the psych team. It's just people that I'm talking to that are documenting everything. And that's what it is. So the alcohol became a distant thing. It became something, if I brought it up, that's me using that as a, don't push me too far. Do you know what? In this situation, all I could ever think about is drinking. That's a load of bollocks, actually, Dan. What you're doing is you're talking now about you're struggling with a situation. You're not comfortable sitting on your own thoughts here, and you're lashing out saying that alcohol's the answer when you know it's not.
Yeah. It's like addiction isn't it's not the problem, it's the symptom, right? It's like that. Yeah, you hear that a lot in recovery. It's like once you start to embrace recovery in like the truest authentic sense you can, then those are the steps that you start taking, right? Like, okay, like avoid the bar. Why am I going to a bar? Like, what is that all about, right? Like start working on yourself, doing that shadow work, right? Finding out like what is the reason? It's the symptom of an issue, right? What is the reason? Like what is the why behind all of this, right? And that's not an easy question to figure out on your own. That usually takes
And
a lot of therapy and a lot of inner work. So let's get back to the transplant part. Okay, so you went through the process. You had the evaluation lead up. What did you feel going into it? Like, what was like? What were you feeling? Talk me through it.
at the time. So going in for the assessment, it was this is the moment I've been waiting for, right? This is the moment now where I'm going to be told you're not as ill as what you think you are. You know, despite being told all this, I felt like shit, and it was just awful. But I've got there. You go through it. You know what it's like. You got the physical test. You got the anaesthetist coming around. You got all this. You got that. You got to go and walk about 40 flights of stairs, knackering. And I got told afterwards, you're not being listed yet. You need to go and work on yourself. So I wasn't listed for about 2 months after the initial assessment. Then I got the phone call to say, right, you're activated on the list. Stand by your phone, sort of thing. And I'm like, right, okay, this is real now.
Yeah.
This is real. I don't know how I feel about this. I should be elated, but then at the same time, someone's got to die for me to be here.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. That's why I never take this off, the donate life bracelet. Yeah.
But that's another thing over here. The organ donation does not get spoken about enough.
Really?
It just does. We'll come to that in a second. And so I'm sat there, and I remember packing a bag, and I'm like, right, okay, I've probably got 3 to 5 years left to live. That's what they said, because the tablets I'm on, they'll only last for a certain amount of time. You're not ill enough for the transplant, but if you do become too ill, you might be too ill to be put back on it properly. I'm like, fucking hell. What am I meant to take from this? And then they had, so then I had, 22, I'm on and off the list. I go for an operation in November 2020, the tipsogram to reshuffle the stent. And it was the first time London had looked at this as opposed to the hospital putting it in. And I've not been put under properly, because obviously the tipsogram, you can be just sedated. The tips procedure, you got to be put under. And all I can hear is them talking, and they're talking about dragon stents and dragon this and fucking. I'm like, dude, I'm awake here.
Yeah.
You know, I sound like this is the scariest Pokemon episode I've ever heard in my life. What are you talking about here? And they're like, no, 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 right, yeah, your liver is absolutely knackered beyond repair. We've just spent 3 hours trying to fix this stent in it. It ain't doing nothing. We need to get you back on the list. And I'm under this cloth while they're still got me neck open, and they're just talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my future wife sat out there in the waiting room waiting for me. We've just had someone just got the flatline machine go out before I come in. She's probably thinking, what the hell's going on? We were told it may take an hour. I've been here 3. Now I'm going to be put on the list. Am I going to make it out here? And then I had issues with my thyroid. They weren't sure if I had thyroidism. There was this, and it turns out it was the booster jab that I'd had that had fluctuated all of my system. And then I got the call to say, right, we're putting you back on the list. We need to get you transplanted. No, let's get you transplanted ASAP. And I got a call about a week and a half later. So I had declined tremendously. But in that period of being taken off the list until being transplanted, I'd gone from living in Oxford, moving to where I am now. I had an operation, found out that I was coming up to more end stage and whatever, and now we need to get transplanted ASAP, and away we go.
Wow.
Hell of a lot to take on board.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was in that state when they were doing all those tips, procedures, and things like that. I remember hearing them having like casual conversations about what are we gonna do with this guy? Like, we don't know what to do with this guy. Like, it was like that, and I'm like, hey man, like I'm right here. I'm right here. Like, you're talking about me dying. Like they had hospice in the room with my parents and stuff, and I'm like, my mom's like, get out, like hospice. Like, no, he's not dying. You know, like it was, but she was also in denial too. We were all in denial. I feel like everyone that goes through this process at one point or another hits that denial point to the max. You know, they just max out the denial meter because it's such a hard thing to come to terms with. It's a life-saving operation. I mean, so let's talk about that, man. Like, so you get your transplant. Okay, now what, right? You wake up. What was the first thought in your head?
The first thought in my head was my wife walking towards me and me gesturing, going, I'm all better. You know what I mean?
I'm fixed.
That's it. And I can't remember a great deal after the initial waking up. I remember going into the theatre because I had to walk. We walked from where I was through we went in the lifts and walked into the operating room. I remember getting in the operating room, going through the double doors, and just that moment of, I wish I had my phone with me, because everything in there has just got my name, date of birth, everywhere.
Yeah.
Over the oxygen mask, the TV, the operating table, everything. I'm like,
you're a celeb.
well, yeah, and also shit's just got real.
Yeah.
And I'm goosebumping up thinking about it. And they kept asking, what's your name, what's your date of birth, your address, and then you got to do it backwards and you got to do it forwards, and then before you know it, we're going to probably go to sleep in a minute. But I'd asked the surgeon before I fell asleep, before I went, please take a photo of my liver and they did. And that's one of the things I remember waiting as soon as I come round.
Really? Did they do? Oh, I thought of that. I remember thinking, like, can I see it? Like, can I see what I actually did? But no, they weren't. You know,
I'll send you a photo of mine, and you will be.
Oh my God!
It is just cirrhosis-ridden liver.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's huge.
It's crazy when you see what a healthy liver should look like, pink and soft and puffy, and then you see what a scarred liver looks like with the decompensated liver.
It looks like it's just been held next to it. Yeah, it looks like it's been held next to a griddle pan, and this side completely burnt off. You see the cirrhosis puncture marks all over it. You see the pus and shit coming out. Not good.
Oh, not good. Not good at all. I mean, what drives me it makes me so furious, and like, it just makes me so furious at myself, my younger self, when I would be with my friends and we would get pissed. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I would, pissed in the sense of, an British way. And we would make jokes about it. Like, it makes me so upset. Like, oh, my liver's taking a hit, you know, like stuff like that. And it makes me so furious at myself for thinking that way and just being so cavalier about the whole thing.
So angry about that because there are snippets of videos. I know a Facebook status came up a while ago, and it put on there, nothing says I love my liver like drinking 36 tins of lager with my mate last night.
Like, yeah, making a joke of it.
And I remember reading the comments underneath it, the liver can take a battering, da 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 da. And I look at that and I go, you moron.
Yeah.
Just you imbecile. And that's the standing joke, and that's sometimes the culture that goes with drinking, is that everybody thinks that this amazing organ that we got is never going to pack up on you. and it does, you know, and I do get wound up about it. I do get wound up when I see people doing selling products online, saying, "Oh, if you've gone out drinking too much, drink a gallon of milk, sister, it's going to repair your liver." I'm like,
It
dude,
doesn't
dude,
work. I tried it.
just shut up,
I tried it.
shut up,
Yeah,
shut up.
doesn't work.
Drives me crazy,
Hmm.
you know. And then when I did a video on it, and I had hundreds of thousands of people comment on, I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing. It might have some benefits, but it ain't going to fix your liver.
No,
It's not repairing it.
no.
You need to stop.
Yes.
You need to stop it. And yeah, looking back on the jokes a bit, and I now, you know, coming around after the operation, as I'm sure you know, and I remember just gagging for thirst. I was so thirsty because obviously tube being down my throat all night. I probably never asked for so many ice chips in my life.
Yeah, yeah. They were like it was so sparse. Like, okay, you can have one. Okay, you can have one. It was like they were like doing it like it was, you know, like it was mass, like Catholic mass. You can have the body of Christ like every like 6 hours. It was exhausting. It was so exhausting. I was so thirsty. I was
I
so
was,
thirsty. Yeah.
and the next day sort of come around, and I just remember what I remember more than anything is not being in a lot of pain. Because obviously the pain management is beyond belief over here. I had to laugh when they started. I said, "What am I on? You're taking fentanyl." I'm thinking, you mean the stuff I've just been telling people not to take, you know, because there's been a massive breakout of it, and not that fentanyl, Mr. Sheridan. We're talking, right, okay, I've got you. Because obviously you're quite delirious. And just remember going from the ITU, sorry, to the ward and feeling warm,
Hmm.
feeling warm and hungry, something I'd never
Wow.
felt in such a long time.
That's wild. So how many days after the transplant did you start feeling hunger and things like that again?
So I was kept in the ITU for 3 days because they didn't have a bed available, or 2 days available on the ward. And when I went up there, the first night was not fun because I was still bunged up, so they had to enema me up. That was a part, so there was pain. And then the next day we said we'll try and get you some soft food. And then after that, do you feel like eating something a bit more substantial? What's on the menu? And I just ordered everything.
Yeah.
Because because eating was so painful.
Yeah.
I was too scared to eat for so long. And my wife, God bless her, would try and fill me up with food and protein drinks. So it ain't going to work. It's, you know, it's not going to make any difference. There will be no muscles appearing on this frame. It hurts to eat, and just enjoying it. You know, being able to look at food in front of me, going, I can consume that. I can eat that. If I want to, I can. I don't have to pretend to have a few mouthfuls and go, I'm full. I can eat that.
Yeah.
And then when they said to me, you might put weight on, I laughed at them. My God, did the weight come on? About
Oh
three
yes.
stone.
Yeah.
So I've had to lose that.
It's the pregnant, all the medic. So yeah, we can talk about that. So a post-transplant life is a whole different world, right? It's a new normal, as they say.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. So all the medications, all the immunosuppressant medications, the prednisone, the steroids, etc. What was the first 6 months of your life like after the transplant?
So I had CMV bad. My donor
you got
had,
CMV.
yeah, I had it, and I had CMV colitis, which put me back in hospital for another 40 days. And I had it terrible. But I also have Crohn's disease, and it was hiding.
Oof.
So the CMV colitis was hiding the Crohn's, and
Yeah.
now we figured out it was Crohn's more than anything. So I'm now on an IV drug for that I take once every 6 weeks, another autoimmune drug. But the prednisolone, that left me bald. Give me a little bald patch on the top here, which has come
Oh,
back now.
I
Hasn't left
lost my
bald.
hair. Yeah, I lost like
Yeah, well,
most of
but, you
my.
know, I was very lucky. My hair just went thin. I didn't
Yeah,
lose
yeah,
my
I
hair.
didn't lose it. Yeah, exactly. It got thin, and then it was like chunks
But
missing. It was
yeah,
the whole
so I
thing.
think I think that with the prednisolone, I've got an incisional hernia, and that's come from me thinking I was Superman because of the steroids, lifting things, doing too much to start with. You know, probably moving a fridge in the kitchen round about 4 months after my operation. Probably not the wisest of things to do, but you know, because I could. But obviously the mood swings, and trying to explain to people why you're in a bad mood. That you've been given, it's not me. These pissing drugs I'm on, they play havoc with my mental state. It's not me talking, it's these things. And then you have to reduce them. So you're on 40, then 35 to 30, 25, you know, reducing them down each week. And then I can't remember the other, but yeah, so prednisolone I wasn't a fan of. I was having to take injections for my blood thinners. I was on tanzaparin for that, so I was having to take 4 injections of that a day. I'm now on 3 milligrams of tacrolimus Adiport, so I take
Oh, that's
one
great.
tablet in the morning,
That's really
2 at
good.
night.
That's really good.
So my meds now are very simple: 1 aspirin, 2 Adcal for me back, my tacrolimus and 2 tablets in my stomach.
Huh. Yeah. You know what's so interesting is that we have like exactly the same timelines. Like 2023. Is that when you had it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Me too. So like
So when was yours in 2023? What month?
May.
So just before me.
May
Literally
2nd,
just before me.
2023.
So I got listed in May.
Yeah.
I got relisted in May and operated on a week and a half later.
Wow. So we were going through it, man. You and I,
Absolutely insane.
separate
And I
sides of
remember
the
hearing you on day. I remember
planet.
hearing you on Monster the Road, thinking I was walking the dogs. I remember your voice now, and you're talking about. I thought, dude's gone through some shit.
Yeah, man. I really went to the ringer to have to. You know, they always say like you got to, the universe will keep giving you the same lesson over and over again until you learn it. Unfortunately, my lesson was how much can I drink and how much can I hate myself until eventually I start loving myself again enough, or caring enough to love myself again. Right? That's
I think that when we that moment of the I call it the penny in a dickhead jar dropping out of the jar of actually like you're all right to like yourself, mate.
Yeah.
You're actually not that bad, and understanding that your thought process is more important than anyone other's. And people will say to me, I don't know if you do this, I give myself 5 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes every single day, making sure that I'm all right. Whether it be sat on the toilet in the morning in the shower, and I go, right, am I giving myself 100% today? Because if I'm giving myself 100%, Claire's getting 1,000% out of me, and the world's getting more out of me.
Yeah.
Or she's getting more out of me. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'm firing on all cylinders and I'm loving myself, then today's a great day.
Yes, man. I think that's such a healthy perspective that you have right there. Practicing gratitude, giving yourself that mental health clarity, just buffer zone of that respite of everyday life, right? Just kind of always working on, okay, how can I be a better version of myself than I was yesterday? How can I serve others instead of being a self-serving person? Like all those, that mind frame of just serving, helping,
Absolutely.
practicing gratitude in a really honest, genuine way. I mean, that's just, it's paramount. It's so vitally, crucially important because if you do not do those things, I'm telling you, you're probably going to relapse. Like I'm just being quite honest.
Damn right. It's that it's that knowing I'm no better than anyone else. It's knowing that there was a family one day. So from my operation, it's knowing that at some point that existential living that I was going through, there's somebody sat in a room saying goodbye to somebody so that my wife can watch me going through my operating room to wave to her, I'm coming back. And that moment will stay with me forever. And also because I don't care what anyone says, a life without alcohol is a better life than with it.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. That
there is no one that's going to tell me different. I'm going to go, actually, no, you got a point there. As I said earlier on, something can be funny. It don't make it fun.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much, man. This has just been a fascinating episode, and we have there's so much that we relate to, and I feel like it's going to be a long-lasting friendship that we're going to have.
It is, and there's a reason why I saw your video yesterday before we'd even exchanged messages. Listening to you I remember it now. I remember I was walking on the river listening to you talking to Dave. I remember it vividly now. And as soon as you said it, it's just twigged. But thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I'm a very blessed person, and I've loved this conversation.
Absolutely.
I really have.
Dan, my last question to you. For someone listening who's scared their drinking is heading toward liver issues, what's the raw truth about getting help early?
If you are, stop waiting for the inevitable to happen. If you're asking questions to yourself, ask the right people. You tell the doctor how much you're drinking. Don't be scared of what the answer is. And you find somebody who is going to listen to your question. You want someone to listen to understand, not listen to answer. And when I say that, when you talk to somebody and they turn on, yeah, but remember when you did this, or actually, no, my aunt's uncle was the same. No, I've got a problem with drinking. I need help. What can we do?
Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. Advocacy, baby. Advocacy. Always err on the side of advocacy for yourself, for others. And let's just all be in this together. Let's live a life that's meaningful and passionate and full of just peace and prosperity, right? I mean, alcohol has no place in my life.
It doesn't.
It just doesn't have a place.
It doesn't. And there is no great story that starts with, oh, I had the motherfucker of all hangovers yesterday. No great story starts with that. No great life movement starts with that.
Right.
What starts with, I woke up this morning and got to hug my wife.
Mm,
I woke up this morning to the best cup of coffee I've ever made.
yeah. The
I
little
get to
things.
go and do this today, and I live in the day. I don't use the word tomorrow. I look forward to the new day.
Yeah. All we have is moments. So why not live for the moment? Right.
Well, you and I went through an operation where we had to sign a bit of paper to say there's a high possibility you might die during this procedure. There is nothing that will ever make me never remember. I will remember that moment. And I remember that moment with clarity every time I open my eyes that I'm not scared of anymore.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Dan. Thank you so much, man. This has just been This has just been awesome. I think it's going to help a ton of people. So, Dan, thanks so much for coming on the Willpower Podcast. If people want to reach out to you, ask you a question, what's the best way to reach you?
Best way, find one of my videos on TikTok and comment on there, and I will answer. Problem I have with my inbox, for some reason, they go all over the place. You can message me on Insta, TikTok, but TikTok is the easiest platform for me to get back to you in, and it's easy for me to verbalize because, as I'm sure all your listeners have understood, I can waffle on for England. Typing is not the greatest.
Yeah, well, me either. I'm in the same boat. Thank you, everyone, for watching this episode. If you haven't yet, guys, please hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest and freest way to help me out. And if you're struggling, I do sober mentoring. You can find the link on my YouTube page under the bio. Be on the lookout for many, many more episodes coming soon. Thanks so much, Dan, for coming on.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care.